Kids get too loud.
Yeah. Welcome in, everybody, to another episode of 410 Sports Talk. I am James Haskell, along with my co-host Glenn Martin. And as always, on a Thursday night, DK is joining us, running the show, doing all things production in the background. So we are excited to be here. Any Thursday night is a good night to talk Ravens. So that's exactly what we're going to do. I'm excited to talk about it. There's a lot to talk about. We're going to go from, Lamar working out wide receivers. We're going to go, the video flashes and OTAs, what we're excited about. There's a few player interviews, lots of stuff to get into. But before I do, off the top, Glenn, how you doing tonight?
Doing well. Excited. I mean, this has been the most beautiful week of weather we've had in Baltimore in quite some time. I mean, another perfect day, like 70 degrees, sunny, not a cloud to be seen. Unfortunately, the Orioles had they had a comeback that ultimately they gave up at the end. Fought back, took the lead late, ultimately gave the lead back and took a L today. But Rutschman hit a bomb today, Jimbo. I mean, a bomb. It still might not have landed yet. So it's a good time to be a Baltimore sports fan, even though they took an L today.
Yeah, if I'm not mistaken, they still split the series, right?
Yep. And Ohtani did Ohtani things today. He hit a ball very, very far. And it's just hard to not be a fan of him, even if you're an Orioles fan, because this guy is just, I mean, we're watching Babe Ruth play. Like, it's crazy the kind of things he's doing, regardless of who your favorite team is. You should check that guy out because he's box office, no doubt about it. Plus, O's are the second best team in baseball right now.
Hey, we ain't mad at that. So go O's, man. I'm excited, and they're doing good when I'm getting excited.
I know that's right. Oh, we'll get you. We'll get you on. I mean, look, I got my pops even tuned into to postseason baseball. You can't get them.
I think that's probably season, where I can get interested.
We're gonna get you. We're gonna get
seventh inning of postseason. There you go.
Oh my goodness. Blasphemy.
I'm terrible. I know.
But what I'm most excited about, Jimbo, and I think you are as well, is just to see, and not that it matters that much, but we see today, I think this was Nelson Aguilar who put this up on Instagram. He is working with Lamar Jackson. Looks like they're down in Florida enjoying the beautiful weather. But for all those fans critical and hopeful that he would be here with his team working with his new weapons, well, he might not have all of his teammates and not all of his new weapons, but it looks like he's at least getting some work in with Nelson Aguilar. And we see some action photos of him and other posts where, you can kind of see him in the middle of his throwing motion and all that stuff. What'd you think when you saw these pictures drop and the posts come out?
So first of all, I now lean very heavily on Kadri. If you guys didn't see our last episode, Kadri Ismail, it was really good. He let his hair down, proverbial hair down, because he ain't got much of it. But certainly Kadri was getting into the reasons why players should take the time off that they have off and really replenish themselves. And so I'm a believer now. I mean, I obviously wasn't a player myself, so I lean on the guys that did it. So this is exciting because this gets me excited because I think, I saw somebody tweet about this today, and I don't know who it was to give him credit, but, we used to talk about Joe Flacco in the offseason and criticize him for never getting together with anyone.
Literally never did it once.
Ever. I mean,
maybe with Dennis Pitta because they were buddies, but
they would like watch The Bachelor together, and then like, their kids would run around and like they'd throw a Nerf ball back and forth and be like, "Oh yeah, we got together this summer." No,
exactly.
I mean, what they're really doing, right?
What's that?
Dennis Pitta was teaching Joe Flacco how to dress and style his hair. That's what was actually happening.
He needed some help, but I think he got together.
He was in the bathroom waxing the unibrow, dude. Remember that thing?
Oh, that uni was crucial. It was Anthony Davis level.
Remember the chiclet, dude?
Oh, the dead tooth in the front? Woo! Oh, I remember. He had a dead tooth till he got that $100 million. All of a sudden, that thing went out of there.
So what I'm trying to say in a lot of words, Glenn, is that I'm happy to see it. I'm looking forward to it. And look, ultimately right now, as much as it's cool to get reps, it's just about chemistry, knowing what each other like, being able to know what guys like to do and their tendencies are in high pressure situations, and what their preferences are is number one. Just trust each other, right?
Yeah. Knowing what a guy looks like when he's preparing to go in and out of his breaks. I think that's something that the NFL, like open in the NFL, is not open in any other league. Like if
Right.
you look at college, guys are running butt naked across the field in a lot of instances. It's so rare in the NFL. A guy's considered open where in high school ball, that's blanket coverage. So
Mm-hmm.
it comes down to the nuances of it. And I think that chemistry certainly plays a role. And yeah, why not start building it earlier rather than late? By the way, quick commenter, Tio, you're not going to catch me with a riot shield. Not, no,
What's
never. It's a Call of Duty thing, and definitely not. Come on.
I'm so lost.
Yeah, it's a come on now. Riot shielder? No, not me. But Connor, and we'll get back to some more of the Lamar stuff, but I do want to get your take. Connor says, "Hey guys, would you guys like if we got Jadeveon Clowney?" Jimbo?
No, I'm over it. He has zero passion to play football. Like, I get you want to check, but he's a mercenary at this point. Like, people perform better when they do something they love, and I just think he's lost love for the game. That's just outside looking in. Maybe that's harsh for me to say, being that he's been through so many, recoveries and injuries and things like that. Maybe that shows he still has love for the game, but I don't know. Clowney doesn't seem in it to me, and he's a mercenary. He's going to go to the highest bidder. And that's just simply what it is. I don't know if I want a guy I don't know if I want a guy around like that. It's just me. And he's always hurt. I mean, he's had a string of health, the past 2 seasons, or
Yeah.
I guess even last year he was hurt early on, I believe, but he's had a relative string of health. So I'm good though. What about you?
It's one of those things where if it gets announced that we signed him,
Like,
I'm
it's
not
cool.
I'm not going to be disappointed. That'd be cool because I know one thing: when he's in there, he's one of the best run defenders at the edge position
Yeah.
in the league. I get that he hasn't lived up to the sack totals that everyone's expecting when you pick him number 1 overall in the draft. He only had 2 sacks last season, but at the I wouldn't be upset. It's all about the money to me. I mean, where they is, but I agree with you. I think he'll go to price tag that will price him out of Baltimore's range.
Yeah, and then on top of that, just like you said, ultimately, if we sign him, I think it would be a good thing because I already know Eric ain't giving him, ain't reaching for, it's going to be because the Ravens won. There's a lot of value there, and his market's just not there.
And I still think that he doesn't really fit the scheme. He's more of an end than an outside linebacker, in my opinion. He doesn't drop in coverage, which the Ravens typically like to show the deception and let their guys drop and rush sometimes. But I still think if they got him, I'd be happy because he's depth, and I know that the Ravens don't overpay for anyone, certainly not him. But back to the Nelson Aguilar and Lamar Jackson. I think Nelson Aguilar I think he's just being overlooked. When it's just, look, he's had some drops, certainly some high profile drops, in that when he had them, they were all over Sports Center, and oftentimes he was kind of the scapegoat for some of the shortcomings back when he was with the Eagles and all that. But he's also had some damn good years, and he's had seasons where he can be a fantastic deep ball threat. He can be, I mean, the fact that you can get this guy as your 4 or 5, that's phenomenal. And I have no problem if he's, promoted to 3 because of an injury of one of the top guys. I still think he's a phenomenal ad there. I mean, I think people are oftentimes kind of, not giving him the credit that he deserves. And I think he's going to be a solid pickup. But what was your thoughts on Lamar Jackson physically? Could you tell by the post anything from how he looked, appearance wise, whether, he's bigger, smaller, anything?
Looks like Lamar to me. Just, I didn't notice anything. Shirt's kind of loose. So, you don't know what his belly looks like right now. If he's, working some summer weight off, or if he's, kept it off throughout the summer. Nothing noticeable. I mean, I think it's Lamar's always, I felt like, had a basketball player type build in a lot of ways. And so, he's never struck me as a guy that, not that he doesn't lift or spend time in the gym, but he's never going to look like Andrew Luck, as far as like bulky or something like that. But no, I mean, I'm happy with I'm happy with him just taking reps and getting out there. And just really quickly to touch on the Aguilar thing, it's something that I've been thinking about a lot because, a couple things happened to Aguilar early in his career. Like you said, they probably reached when they picked him. They're probably a bit desperate. And the Eagles have done that. Didn't they also draft who's the other kid?
He's gone now. The short
he
guy.
was in the Vikings. He was played for the Rieger.
Rieger, yeah. Jalen Rieger, yeah.
And then the other kid too that had two last names out of Stanford years ago. I forgot his name. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, Ortega.
Yeah.
Something.
Yeah, but you know what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah.
They have a history of doing this. That's why they ultimately said, screw it. We're going to trade for A.J. Brown because we can't draft him, right?
Yeah.
So I think that happened, and he got put into a role that was just too big for him. But now you put him in a situation, and we've seen him flourish in other situations, when he's just in the right role.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And so having him in the right role kind of unlocks the value that he can provide you there. So that in and of itself is really, really exciting for us here. But yeah, I mean, I'm excited about Lamar. I'm glad he's getting out there, getting work done. Oh, there you go. JJ Arcega.
Yeah.
Whiteside.
Yeah, I knew it was something.
Yeah. So, but ultimately, I think Lamar loves football. I'm glad we're seeing these videos and not like flipping over a jet ski.
Yeah, and you know what? We're going to talk more, and this is something that obviously Kadri was very passionate about. The fact that he doesn't expect not just Lamar, but Ronnie Stanley, Mark Andrews, any of the established, proven veterans. He has no problem. In fact, encourages them to stay away until absolutely necessary. But my whole thing is just what's the downfall if they come here? Like, what's the negative because I'm seeing, and this is the part that has me a little confused, is that Marlon Humphrey on defense and Roquan Smith on defense, both very highly paid, both proven veterans, have nothing to prove in these, but they've been an active participant for all of these. And when asked about it, Mike McDonald said that, that they talked to leaders and they've discussed that this, the impact it would make if they showed up, and they embraced that opportunity, decided to show up. And again, they're the highest paid. I think Marlon's third and Roquan's first at their position. So why is it that we applaud those guys for showing up, and then at the same time we kind of, a lot of people are applauding Lamar for not showing up? So I'm just kind of,
I think this is where I agree with you in that, like, okay, it's easy to say outside looking in. I would show up because you don't have anything to lose. Like, it's easy, it's easy for me to say that, right? But ultimately, I guess where I stand is that I don't think he feels as though he gains a ton either. Maybe not as much as we would assume. Like the way Kadri explained what really happens at football school, where he's like, I'm going to take some snaps and throw it to a guy who air is covering him, right? So Adame Owe can practice coming off the edge against a trash can. Like, maybe he feels like, you know what, I'd rather spend 5 days with my quarterback coach, getting some solid reps in, bring some of my guys down here and make more use out of the time. So I feel like I've started to tamper my opinion on what actually there is to gain.
Okay.
Maybe there's a lot there.
Not a lot to lose about him missing, but also not a lot to gain if they were to show up. Okay. Right. All right. But then one would say, well, then what's the point of having them down there with you, having Nelson Aguilar down there with you? I mean,
well, and that's why I say, if you got your quarterback coach out there and you guys can do a full on, like just you guys workout where you're sweating and getting it in, I think that's different than having to run the whole, and I think defensively speaking, it's a bit different because
worse because you can't guard right now. There's no one-on-ones. So who are you as a safety and a corner? What are you doing?
Right, for sure. But on the other end, I also think it's harder to get work done, like get reps as a middle linebacker outside of a full team scenario.
Certainly.
So, like, what else are you going to do?
Offensively, it's a lot easier to run routes against air than to cover air as a defender.
Right. Exactly. You got to have some serious visualization skills.
Some imagination.
Well, who used to do that, Glenn? Was that Drew Brees that would, like, he would go out there in the field and he would act like he's in a huddle and, do his all with air. Like, it would be big time overkill. Have you seen these videos? They're insane. You ever bored one day?
Probably does a whole routine.
He'd be in the huddle talking to air like he's talking to his boys. Like, It was just
Yeah.
ridiculous. Anyway,
Hey, he can prepare. DK says you also don't have to follow the NFL rules in your own sessions. No, that's true. You're not limited by the by the collective bargaining agreement. But I'm just saying, like, if they after practice they could still couldn't they all decide to stay on the field and throw together? Like, I don't even if the coaches leave. I'm just wondering what's the negative, because I get it if there's like team activities, there's chances for him getting rolled up on, getting stepped on. But as far as I know, there's no team activities. It's all just like skill position throwing to, and there's no one around you to trip on or roll on you. So I'm just wondering what the negatives would be, because you're still with your offensive coordinator. You're with the team's quarterback coach.
Maybe the nightlife is just better in Florida.
I can't doubt that. I can't.
Maybe that's ultimately what it is.
Tom says, hey guys, do you think Flowers has a better rookie season than Marquise Brown did? Overall, I think Hollywood was underappreciated here. He had a 1,000-yard season under Greg Roman. Now, that 1,000 yards didn't come until his final season, right? So, but he had a fantastic rookie year. In fact,
he had what, like 7 touchdowns, 700 some odd yards?
I believe you're right. Yep, exactly. Yep, like 750 and 7 tutties, if I remember right. Yep.
Yeah.
So, what do you think in comparison? Where do you think Flowers would stack up?
This one's gonna be a little trickier because we needed every single yard from Marquise, because there was points, if I recall, in that season where we were a bit thin at that position. Then ultimately, not only were we thin, that wasn't the issue because that wasn't the injury-riddled season, but like look who his counterparts were. No knock against those guys. We were talking about Seth Roberts and
Willie Snead.
Yeah, right. So he had to be out there and was going to get the ball a lot. So I don't know if maybe production-wise, if Zay does the same thing, because he's got a much more deep and established crew next to him in comparison to Marquise, where he was already like the head honcho, just walking in even with a screw in his foot. So it's hard to say, but I think that we will see Zay do a lot of things that we wanted Marquise to do, is the way I'll answer very quickly. I think it'll be very noticeable. So
he's like a Raven more so than Marquise does.
Right. And then just to the 1,000-yard thing, didn't he have like 80,000 catches that year? I mean, it just felt like he averaged something ridiculous. Lamar just threw him the ball a ton.
Yeah,
he had like 140 targets.
Yeah, it was
something crazy.
But I will say it was 7 touchdowns. That's correct. But he only had 584 yards as a rookie.
Yeah.
A little bit lower. But I think that while yes, you're right in that Marquise was definitely the most talented receiver on the roster then, I also think that Flowers is benefited by having, certainly if a healthy Bateman and healthy OBJ, because of the attention that they'll be getting will allow Flowers to take on corners that are the 3rd and 4th on their team, not the 1st or 2nd where Marquise had to face. And also, Todd Monken's offense is going to be far more pass happy than Greg Roman. So I think Flowers will have a tough time reaching the 7 touchdown mark Marquise put up, but I absolutely expect him to break the yardage at 584.
Yeah, that's fair.
No doubt about it.
Definitely.
But let's see here. I also wanted to bring up, we had a couple other super chats. Shout out to our guy Cakes Mitchell, who said, "Oh, look, me overlapping here." He says Lamar isn't at a voluntary camp. The season is over. Yeah, no, I mean, absolutely. It's certainly, if they're losing a game in November, no one's going to point back to camp days missed in March or in May. But I just find it interesting that like the defensive guys, who I feel like get less work in on these working against air moments, are all there and find it important and are being praised for it. But on the other side, where I feel like offense, you could at least learn, it's a new playbook. Like the defense isn't learning a new playbook. They're not, it's like, but yet they're there and being praised. So I do think that that's just a little bit, I don't know, interesting.
There you go. Tom Votto says more targets this season, Duvernay or Nelson. Who Duvernay 4th or 5th on wide receiver depth chart. Will be interesting to see how the Ravens use Duvernay this season. Yeah, it's something we talked about, Kadri, and I also agree that I don't think Duvernay gets lost in the shuffle and just turns into a special teams guy. I think he does find a way to have a bigger role in this offense and will be used correctly. But that's a great question. What do you think, Glenn? Duvernay or Nelson? Who gets more targets?
I mean, you're correct in calling it a great question. I think that's I think it could come down to health, because I think if everybody's healthy, I think Nelson Aguilar gets more. If
you think so, even like, so I guess my only question would be, I think they'll be used very differently in my mind. Do you agree with this or disagree with this? In that, like, I see Monken saying, okay, I'm going to get a lot of underneath stuff, quick stuff to Duvernay, but the way I want to use Nelson is over the top.
Yeah.
Maybe a fewer times a game, but we're going for a home run type scenario.
Yeah.
Do
Yeah.
you agree with that?
Yeah, I do. I just think that Duvernay, like you talk about that quick stuff, how much of that are they going to want Zay doing?
Right.
Bateman showed to be our best yak guy last year. So how much are they going to want to get to him? Odell's always been a guy that can take a 4-yard slant and turn it into a 60-yard touchdown. So I think they have a lot of guys. So I just wonder, like, where Duvernay falls in that line. And I do think that they will continue to lean on him as the all-pro return guy that he is. And I think Nelson's only way onto the field and only role is a receiver. So I think there's just more versatility in Duvernay's game and ways they can justify him being active. Whereas Nelson, if you're going to have him active, you got to have him out there running routes. There's no excuse, or there's no other way to get him on the field and get him involved. So, but I think it's a great question, Tom. And I think they're going to be close either way.
Yeah, I think that's a great point as well. I think they'll definitely be close. And shout out to Brooks Robinson. I'm sure you guys are in his happy birthday.
Happy birthday, Brooks. Yeah, Mr. Right. Oriole right there.
That's right.
I'm a Cal guy, but Brooks Robinson,
my mom's favorite player, Brooks Robinson.
16 straight gold gloves.
Yeah, it's insane.
That's crazy, dude. 18-time All-Star. By the way, people forget that he was American League MVP and not just a great defensive player, but also a guy who hit over 300 in the playoffs. And, again, he won the MVP. So that's all you need to know. He had at least one fantastic offensive season in there. But Max says, hot take, Kyle Hamilton gets not one, but 2 pick sixes this season. What do you think about that, Jimbo? Is that a hot take?
I think it's a hot take.
Yeah.
I don't know if I agree. I mean, I'd love to see it. I don't know if I agree. I think it's more likely that Marcus Williams does. But yeah, I think it's a hot take. Hot take. Okay. I'll take it.
Yeah.
I guess, you know what, though? I could see Kyle getting some stuff closer to the line. You know what I mean?
That's the pick six, right?
Right. You know what I'm saying? Jumping a passing lane. He's 6'4", super long. Makes him more visible, but he's got the length and the speed that might be underestimated by a quarterback or two. One, maybe Kenny Pickett, something like that. So yeah, I could see it for sure.
Yeah, I agree. I think jumping a flat route, and there's no doubt that he could grab one and go. But I do think it's a hot take because 2 pick sixes. Ed Reed made it look routine, but just pull up the stats the last few years and see how many pick sixes were happening around in Baltimore. There's not a ton anywhere really. You go around the league.
Right.
But yeah, so shout out to Max. I'm always stepping on the toes here. Marco says Jameson Hensley needs to be used as a tackling pad. Wow, not a Jameson fan. I will say, we tried to invite Jameson on the show and we got nowhere. So yeah, I mean, look, he's been doing it for 23 years. So and he carries himself like he knows it. So is the way I would say.
That's a nice way to put it.
Yeah.
I'm working on being nicer on the airwaves. So I'm just going to leave it to myself.
A lot of the media though couldn't be more friendly, but
no, I mean, it's just incredible.
Yeah.
They're great. So yeah, absolutely. But Glenn, I want to talk a little bit about, we've talked about Lamar. I want to talk about Adafe Owe. I want to talk about David Ajabo. I'm getting excited about this defense. But really quickly before we do, we've been talking about this and we've prepared for this a lot off air. You guys know that we did a draft party at Ellie's Tavern on draft day, and it was an awesome turnout. It was an absolute awesome event. It was a ton of fun. We're going to continue doing live events, hopefully once a month, but at the very least, we're going to give it our best shot. That being said, Saturday night, May 27th, put it on your calendars, 6:30 p.m. We'll blast it on social media here in a few days. But just giving you the heads up, Saturday, May 27th, 6:30 p.m. We'll be at Ellie's Tavern again, right downtown in the city. This one's going to be pretty cool, Glenn, because we're going to have a few special guests. Get excited, guys. And then outside of that, one of the things we're really going to do is we want to bring you guys into the show in that we want to have conversations with you and have you, ask us questions and be able to field your questions, ask our guests questions and be able to field those questions as well. So it's going to be exciting, man. I'm excited to get back down to Ellie's.
No doubt. That place is gorgeous. I mean, beautiful venue, and good people. Staff is amazing, and of course, any chance we can get to see you guys face to face and
That's right.
meet everyone, and share a good time over, talking some Ravens football. That's a good day. So I'm
Yeah.
excited. Can't wait. And also excited just to let you guys know who's going to be coming out there with us as well.
Yeah. Stay tuned. Make sure obviously you guys are up on social media because we'll have the details ironed in a couple days. But Glenn, I mentioned that I want to talk about Ajabo and Adafe Owe. We saw some interviews by for both of them, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
Talk to me about what your initial impressions are watching the videos, both in the interviews and then also hearing what they have to say and seeing what they look like in football school so far.
Yeah, no doubt. David Ajabo was the first presser that I watched, and real impressive. I mean, a guy who clearly is back to, what he considers not just 100%, but better than he's ever been, is the way he described it. More explosive than he ever felt, even while he was at Michigan. So that's extremely exciting to hear. I talked about the fact that this was his first injury of his career, and the patience and perseverance that he had to show, and how he kept God first, and that's what kind of helped him get back to full strength. He also mentioned that he took a couple weeks off during when the season first ended, and was able to go back to, I think he said, Scotland is where his family lives, which is pretty cool, pretty wild. Excited that the Ravens are going over the pond, as they say, and that his family will be able to come out there and watch him play in overseas, and so he's excited about that. But said once he got back, Jimbo, that he's been working, him and Adafe, on their craft nonstop, trying to make sure they get better, because they both say how important this season is. And of course, the Ravens brought in, is it Chuck Smith? I believe the pass rush guru, who both were raving about, and both mentioned the importance of the fact that he's played in the league at a high level. He's done it, whereas most of their coaches in the past, while great coaches, didn't speak from experience, and that the nuances that they're getting from Chuck, because of the fact that he's been in those moments, has really kind of helped them a lot. So it got me excited, Jimbo, because they seem both of them seem very confident that they are set to have a big season. I think just imagine, Jimbo, imagine if Adafe Owe and David Ajabo live up to the potential that they have. And I mean, how good could this defense be if those two guys live up to their potential?
Huge. I mean, we'll have to obviously have Adafe make a big jump. And then Ajabo, like you said, live up to the hype, because if you guys don't recall, Ajabo in a lot of cases before the Achilles injury was pegged as a top 15 on the low end. Some people had him in a lot of people had him in the top 10. Some people, oh, geez, a whiz. What was his counterpart's name? The kid that got drafted by Detroit.
Hendricks? No, that's the Bengals. I can see his face.
Yes.
Got a bunch of interceptions.
Anyway, he was taken second overall, right, by the Detroit
behind
Lions.
The Georgia linebacker. Yeah.
Right, and a lot of people thought Ajabo was the better one.
Well, they said the better athlete, the more natural.
Yeah. And the other thing too, Hutchinson. Yeah, Hutchinson. Yeah. Aiden Hutchinson, is that what it is?
Yeah, I believe so. Yep.
Yeah. Aiden Hutchinson. But ultimately,
Raven in the chat.
Yeah. What's up, man? So ultimately, it's gonna come down. A lot of it's gonna hinge on these guys.
Yeah.
Right. Because if they can make the jump, man, my goodness, how exciting would it be? Because how many teams have young athletic staples under contract for the foreseeable future like we do? I'm sure there's other teams out there, but these two are top end picks, super athletic, tons of potential. But Glenn, they've got to live up to it, right?
No doubt. I mean, to this point, I think it's fair to say that Adafe's been disappointing. I'm certainly not going to say he's a bust, because he's had production, and he's played a ton of games. But disappointing, I think, is fair to say for a first-round pick who's expected to come in and make more of an impact affecting the passer. Haven't seen it, that much. Took a step back from a production standpoint from his rookie year to last year. So he's got to be better. I think it's a more important year maybe for him than Ajabo, but Ajabo has to prove that he's the athlete he once was before the injury. So I think it's a big time season for both. But I kind of agree with Max here. Max says he's confident about Dafe and Jabo, but want JPP in Houston. Yeah, I still want them to bring some more veterans to this team, and I'd be fine if it's those two guys. I wouldn't mind to see if they can find someone who maybe has a little bit more, like, as far as I get worried when you're bringing in older guys because they tend to gas out by the end of the season. You don't want guys that are only going to participate in the first 8 weeks and kind of peter out down the stretch in the playoffs. But if that's all they can get, I would certainly welcome a return by both or either of those guys.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm glad you're confident, Max. I feel confident in Ajabo. Even though I've seen much less of him, I'm nervous about Adafe because it just seems to be a trend, right? That he's just not getting to the quarterback. All that being said, Adafe has also made some incredible plays. I mean, I'll never forget the play in Kansas City where he poked the ball out, then recovered it. So he's
Legendary.
shown that he can put it together. I just hope that he can continue to do that. And then just like Boom Raven points out, let's not forget Tyus Bowser rounding that group out. And then the young kid from Canada that we just drafted, that he's physically he's extremely gifted. Yeah, he's an absolute monster, 6'6" and however many pounds, and an explosive athlete. So he'll be another fun one to watch. But ultimately we can have depending on those two guys, they're the lead dogs of the sled team. You know what I mean? Like, the folks behind them are gonna follow their lead, but they'll be the depending factors on how good that pass rush can be. Is really what it's gonna.
How good could your pass rush be when a lot of the analysts and people I trust listen to their evaluation of football players say that Kyle Hamilton, Pat Queen, some people said Roquan, those were our best blitzers, those were our best pass rushers, because of the way they use their hands. I mean, Kyle Hamilton, it was amazing the way he would blitz and use his hands to get around these tackles and tight ends. They try and block him. I mean, it was amazing. But I think what we want is our best pass rushers to be our pass rushers.
Yeah, to get home.
Yeah, like you don't talk about the best pass rusher in 49, in Oakland, San Francisco being a safety. You don't talk about the great pass rush teams have great pass rushers. That's what we need. We don't need great blitzers leading the way. I mean, it's great that we have great blitzers, but we need our pass rushers to get to the quarterback.
To me, pass rushers are like the guys that, it's late in the game. You just need a bucket, right?
Right.
Like, no matter what, this dude ain't passing the ball. He's getting a bucket.
Yeah.
Right. And like, that's a pass rusher. Like, it's no guessing where it's coming from.
Yeah.
You know what's going to happen. This dude's just going to beat you. Right. And we need matchups that turn out in our favor in those scenarios.
Yep.
For sure. So, and it really, I mean, there's no one else on the roster that has that potential except those two guys, or at least as much of it, except those two guys. What do you think about Ajabo trying to get Suggs' number?
Dude, I was just going to ask you. I think Suggs has every right.
Oh yeah.
To say, 55. And I am glad he did. I don't want to see another 55, 52, 20, 75, all those, and Yonda too, 73. Once he gets in the hall, they're done. That's it. That's the only people to wear those numbers in Ravens history. I'm so glad that Suggs didn't, because I think oftentimes people are too nice. He's calling me. He's a humble guy. David Job is a nice guy. He probably called. I'm glad he said, not today. Hang up.
And what's funny? I think even Bishotti, because he did mention Bishotti got involved.
Yeah.
I think Bishotti was also like, sorry, dude. Sorry, young fella. Like,
because he probably said, look, you're about to be, is he not in the ring yet? If he's not, he'll be there very soon.
Right.
But I think he might already, I don't know. I know he's been the special guest, but I don't know if he's in the Ring of Honor yet.
Right. But he's going to be in the ring, in the hall. And
name it. He's in the Hall of Fame. Right. He's in all that. I mean, this guy is insane. I mean, he's one of the very few players to have 120 plus sacks in this league. Insane. So he's a guaranteed first ballot, no questions asked. But I ask you this last thing: would Suggs maybe allow it if, let's say, this year Ajabo puts up 12, 13 sacks?
I just don't think Bishotti wants it.
Okay, so not performance based. Okay.
Yeah. No, I think that this is how it's been run, and this is just how it goes. Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
So
Okay.
no,
So
nothing
Suggs
you can
not
do at
in the Ring of
Jabo.
Honor yet. Okay.
Sorry. Yeah.
So he's
Yeah.
not in there yet, but he's on his way.
Yeah.
But Yonda is interesting. Well,
Yeah.
it could be because Suggs hasn't officially retired. I
Yeah.
think he's still kind of in this weird limbo where he hasn't been signed in 3 years, but
It's like, dude, just retire, bro.
put the paperwork in, man.
Right. Come on.
Just put it in.
I mean,
Put
do
it
you think
in.
he's really still getting calls?
No. Hell no.
I mean, the last time we saw him, he looked fit, but
He did look good. You're
too
right.
skinny to play the position now. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, almost. Yeah. I mean,
Well, that's probably crazy to say because he's a
just
gargantuan
a
human.
monster. Yeah. I mean, he probably
Yeah.
walks around looking svelte at 260.
Yeah. Yeah. That's true.
But the other thing, unless you have more on
No.
any more, okay. We gotta. I
All right,
found
actually,
this-
hold on. Let me tie this off with a bow real quick. Let me ask you
Yeah,
this.
go ahead.
I'm putting your feet to the fire. Who gets more sacks this year?
I think David Ajabo.
Yeah, I do too.
Yeah, I think David Ajabo. But I hope I'm wrong because I mean, Adafe Owe is the one they invested more in.
Yeah.
And I think if Owe it gets more sacks than Ajabo, then they'll both be really high up there.
Yeah.
Whereas I think it's the other if it's the other way around, I'm not so sure. So
yeah, that's exactly how I feel about it. So I'm glad we agree there.
I want to know your point or your take on this, Jimbo. Did this have any impact on why he was signed by the Ravens? I mean, is this not absolutely insane? Odell Beckham Jr. is so far and away the most followed social media player in the league. I mean, that is insane to see how much further apart he is than his peers.
Dude
right?
makes so much money off Instagram. It's insane. It's
like,
just insane.
And that's just one. That's just Instagram, right? Like I'm sure he's the leader in all the others too, Twitter and all that.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's just I don't think this had anything to do with the signing, but I'm sure the Ravens don't mind the free pub.
I mean, right? Because every time now he's on TV, I saw him sitting front row at the game. It's Ravens receiver.
That's
I know
right.
they love seeing Ravens receiver.
That's right. It's got to be everywhere.
I just thought that was amazing how much, like, it's not even close. You add up all of those behind him, and they still don't equal where he's at.
Yeah, man. It's great branding.
I mean, no doubt. The guy is a no doubt megastar in the league. But what I wanted to ask you about later is the news that broke today, which I was extremely, extremely excited about. I'm trying to stall here while I can put well, it's nothing inappropriate or nothing, but here we go. But I think that since the league has kind of devalued and in fact minimized the total number of preseason games, I think it's become more and more vital for teams to do these joint practices because they get far more reps, 1 versus 1s, 2s versus 2s, 2s versus 1s in joint practices than they do in preseason games where most starters aren't playing a lick. And those that are in there for one series and then out there when the second series comes in. So the Ravens announced today that August 15th and 16th, they'll be holding a joint practice with the Washington Commanders at the Under Armour Performance Center. So they'll be hosting for the 4th time a joint practice. This is their 8th overall joint practice, but 4 of which they went on the road to other people's venues. But I'm excited. Not only are they having it, but they're having it at home in their venue, which we know, they're going to spare no expense into making this a perfect scenario for both teams, really.
And the fans.
And like you just touched on, this is during their open portion to the fans, which means I will be marking my calendar to be there on either the 15th or 16th, or hopefully both days.
Yeah.
That way I can watch them, because I got to imagine the intensity level is ratcheted up a bunch of notches when there's another team coming to practice with you.
Well, and let's see. I'm pretty sure this will acquiesce with we play them in a preseason game, right?
Yeah, right after that. That's just leading up to the preseason. Yep. And that's typically how they do the joint practice.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, I mean, at this point in this, these guys are going to be tired of hitting each other and ready to, lay the wood on someone else. So, yeah, really intense practices, really telling practices, going to get juice this thing for all it's worth. So these will be some fun ones for sure to go to. I couldn't agree with you more. And I'm excited to see their. I mean, they got a defense over there, and down the 495. It'll be fun to watch them line up, even if it is just a little bit against our new offense. That's going to be really telling and fun to see as well. So yeah, it's exciting stuff, man. I'm looking forward to it. And the Ravens always do a good job at the stadium to make it fun for folks and make it worth the trip down. So
and I think what's cool is to watch the skill position, because they got Jahan Dotson and Terry McLaurin, who both are sensational. And I'd love to see them, because I want to see Odell versus Marlon. I want to see Zay I want to see everyone versus Marlon. But I worry that the coaches may be kind of they might be a little bit apprehensive to put a lot of those guys up against each other, knowing that naturally the intensity is going to ratchet up when you see Bateman and Marlon going at it. They both turn up and you worry about that kind of stuff. But I don't think we'll have that same worry when Terry McLaurin and Jahan Dotson. I want to see, and Rock Ya-Sin too. I want to see what all these guys got, because Rock Ya-Sin's another physical, tough nosed quarter.
But ultimately, aren't you really excited to see this new offense like in action and see what it is, see what it does, and see what's to be made of it. People
Emmanuel Forbes is over there too. I forgot.
Oh, your guy.
And he's been balling for them, by the way.
Yeah.
So I want to see him versus our guys.
Yeah. That'll be interesting to see as well. I'd love to get a picture with him next to Marlon.
Who's that? Oh, I know, because he's so thin compared to jacked out Marlon.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah, they're two different.
Yeah, they play the same position, by the way.
Right. Yeah, couldn't be more opposite in how they do it. But Don C says, I hear rumors about bringing in Ndamukong Suh for interior pass rush. I'm not sure if I want that attitude around our young guys. What's your thoughts? What do you think about Ndamukong?
I mean, if the money's right, he's older now, but he's obviously, he's such a superior athlete at his size. I don't know that many people I've seen as athletic as him at his size, and it's just hard to say he still can't get the job done within the right role.
Right
at this point, you'd be hard pressed for me to say something like that. So I can't be mad at it. The money's got to be right. I'm not too worried about the attitude or the persona at this point, because he's not the highest paid defensive player. He's not in front of the microphone all the time. He's not, the draw that he used to be, just based on where he's at in his career. Right. So, he can only do so much. And so
I think he'll be much more subdued.
Yeah, for sure. But
I also wonder what type of, people are talking about him providing pass rush. This isn't the Ndamukong Suh from 2010. I mean, this guy was born the same year as me. So he's 36 years old.
Yeah, he's long in the tooth.
As a D tackle. So I think he provides some nice depth there. And maybe what he would do is provide some good relief for a guy like Michael Pierce, because he does provide some interior pass rush, and I'd like to see him get some relief, at least on the early downs. And Ndamukong could provide it. But I really got to know, Don C., did you look up how to spell Ndamukong Suh? I got to know, because if you just pulled that off the top of your dome, that's impressive. But
did you spell? Is that the correct spelling?
That's correct.
Is it? Nice.
That's correct. Impressive. But yeah, I would like to see them bring him in if the price is right, and as long as the expectations aren't that he's going to be the old Ndamukong Suh.
Yeah, and Don, dude, if you can make it out on the 27th, bro, we'd love to see you.
Yeah, we got to see you.
Same thing with Cakes, man. All you guys, but Cakes, we'd love to see you out there too, man. Let's see. Let's see what Tom Votto's got. JPP Peters or Houston. If you only had one, who you pick?
I think I'm going Peters, man.
Yeah, me too. I think he's got the most left in the tank.
Yeah, I mean, I do think that it wouldn't shock me if Houston week 7 had another 2 or 3 sack game. But I think Peters, in the long run, you can never have too many corners. And I think he's going to be better than he was last year, because he's another year removed from that big-time injury.
I agree on all fronts. So,
and look, there's still some good pass rushers out there, man. Like your boy Leonard Floyd, who I know you liked for a long time.
I've liked
he's
Leonard.
30 years old. He's not an old man. Why not kick the tires on a guy who's maybe a little younger? Again, I'd still be happy with Houston and or JPP, but I also wouldn't mind them getting someone that has maybe a little more left.
With you there. Connor says, who is one guy you guys want the Ravens to get, I think, yeah,
Gotta just
Leonard
split
Floyd.
it.
Yeah, Leonard, or I want Peters back. I mean, I
Yeah.
do. I think there's a lot there. Glenn just explained it with perfection. So, yeah, I'm either of those guys. I'd be content with both of them. Go get them, Eric. Go
And
ahead.
and like Gideon said in the chat, I saw the reports as well that uh, although Peters met with the Raiders, there's no imminent signing. So if you
Yeah.
let the guy leave, then it tells me that he's probably not going to stick around. But he might have like a handshake agreement that, hey, I'll see you guys when camp comes. But I think the Ravens are still very much so in the running for him at the end of the day. So, but
Yep.
there's really nobody else out there that I go, man, that I really want the Ravens to go get him. Now there could be trade options that we're just not
Sure.
aware of.
Sure.
But the guys that are out in the market, I'm not thrilled with.
Yeah, you don't want to go get AB.
This guy, you see the video of him handwriting checks to his players? Did you see that video?
No.
Well, his team, he owns like an arena football league team,
Yeah.
and
Albany, right? Up in Albany.
Yeah, and he wasn't paying his team. Like he wasn't paying his team or the coaches, and apparently he like locked them either in or out of the hotel. And so, like a day or two after all that report, then he releases a video of him on Twitter sitting in a room where players are like lined up coming in the door one by one, and he's literally writing out the check, handing it to them on like video on social media. It's just like this guy is such a fool. Like he's an
I think he's suiting up for him, isn't he?
I mean, it's Jackie Moon, man. It's Jackie Moon, baby. This is I mean, this is absolutely hilarious. Like this guy is awesome. He's something special. Mucho Mango says, thoughts on the Ravens having a bird bath? Well, I will say the bird bath for the Orioles has been nothing short of incredibly successful, and I can't wait to hear one of our guests who we'll be announcing later on at our live event. I think got to experience the bird bath up close and personal. So I'll be interested to get his take on it. But let's see here. Oh, as you can see, look, the birds are supporting the birds. And I love it. I love when the football team and the baseball team to get together. And they're both, I expected, the Orioles currently doing well. Ravens expected to do well. That's pretty cool. We got two teams, and they tend to like each other, seem to like each other.
Yeah, except Roquan.
Yeah, what happened?
He's just got a random glove.
Yeah, like why doesn't he?
Because I think he's an odd man, right? Am I understand? Like at least
he's a number 0, right?
No, but what I mean is that he doesn't have someone to swap with.
I mean, they could have given him something to hold instead of a generic glove.
Like, come on, dude. You could always hold a Ripken jersey up there, and you're never gonna get any hate for that, right?
Right.
Yeah, no, for sure. But yeah, man. I'm excited about it too. It's just an exciting time to be a Baltimore sports fan. Positivity on the radio is great. Positivity on the show is great. It's a lot of fun. It's encouraging stuff, man. Yeah, I just don't want it to. I don't want it to be like the Philadelphia Eagles. I don't want to end up like they did last year, right? Didn't the Philadelphia fan base, they lost in the MLB? Didn't they lose the World Series? Then they lost in the Super Bowl. And then something else happened in hockey, I think. Anyway.
Yeah, that's tough.
Let's just not push that down 95 South.
Yeah, that's tough.
Yeah. For sure.
But yeah, I think that this is a time where I start to get, really anxious for football season. Like I'm very thankful that the Orioles are playing so well, because in a couple weeks when basketball season's over, that they're the only show in town other than, practice sessions for the Ravens. But this is the time where it's like free agency is kind of dwindling down. The draft's over. And we're in this time where I'm just hoping no players get hurt on their own time.
Yeah.
No players get in any trouble on their own time. And the football season can't come soon enough, Jimbo.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I'm with you there. The other thing too is, oh man, I totally forgot what I was going to say.
You just blanked?
Just blanked.
I hate when that happens.
Yeah, no, but you're absolutely right. I mean, it's the last bump I think we'll really have in action for the offseason. June 1st cuts will be an interesting day.
That's true.
There's a lot of players we already know about, but I'm sure there's others that we don't know about. And there's teams in dire cap situations that don't be surprised if, that might be what the Ravens are waiting on. Well, it certainly is a big part of what the Ravens are waiting on before they make their next move, because won't that also, after post June 1st, that no longer affects the compensations
right
in the formula. So that'll be another one. So that'll be, I think, the last big bump of the offseason. So, look forward to that. But you're right. I mean, it's slim pickings at this point, unless you're talking about signing Ezekiel Elliott.
I saw a lot of people saying that the Ravens should, like, I've seen
Dalvin Cook.
Who was the other running back I saw? The Ravens. Oh, Samaje Perine. I'm like, did they forget that we have an absolutely loaded backfield? And then they even added, who was that? Was it Mitchell that they added?
Super fast kid.
Yeah, like as an undrafted. It's like, where do we have room for a veteran? There's no space.
Isn't Perine in Buffalo?
The other P, I think there's two P runs.
Oh, are there? Okay.
I think there is. I just saw that there was two running back. It was like the last move every team has to make, those articles. And it was, and both of those times it was a running back. I'm like, what?
But it's funny. I feel like anybody that's outside of the Ravens media, if they're assessing the running back room, they go JK, no one. Like, they don't realize how valuable, once again, Gus is. And then even Justice, who, seems to be making leaps and bounds in the right direction. But we have two number one backs. Like, just call it what it is. Yeah. I think Gus Edwards has been nothing but ultra productive. So you won't catch me saying a bad thing about him. So, I agree with you in that this is not a position of need.
No, there's not many left on the team.
Yeah, I think Kadri's right? Like, let's get some D-line. Let's get some edge rush if we feel so compelled. But you're right. We need
maybe
to stay
another
healthy.
Corner. But that's about it.
We need to stay healthy.
Yeah, Eli agrees. He says, I think our backfield is pretty good as is. I still think we should keep our focus on cornerback or wide receiver if we do decide to make more moves. And I agree, cornerback, I think they need to add. But if you look at the wide receivers, there's no space. I mean, you got Odell, you got Bateman, you got Flowers, you got Nelson Aguilar, and you got Devin Duvernay right there. You got 5 locks. They never keep more than 6. So that means Tylan Wallace, James Prochet, Tariq Black, Dante Demas Jr.,
Shamar
Bridges. I feel like I'm missing guys. They're all competing for one spot.
Yeah.
So if you bring in certainly another vet, that just tells all those guys that I just named that your chances are very slim or out the door. So, I mean, that's really, I don't know. I don't think they can add any more wide receivers unless it's a reaction to an injury that hopefully never takes place.
Right. No, I'm with you 100%. I tell you what, it's been fun tonight, Glenn. We're glad the super chats are coming in. We love answering you guys' questions. Keep doing so. I'm glad you guys decided to show up and hang out with us tonight for an hour or so. We'll be back on Tuesday. We're going to keep getting through the guests that covered our draft picks. We're going to have a few others coming up here soon, and we're still working on lining those up. But, of course, also stay tuned. The 27th is right around the corner. As I mentioned before, we're going to have at least 2, but most likely 3 special guests there that we will announce heretofore. So make sure to stay tuned and stay locked in on social media and other places. And of course, we'll announce it once we have it here on the show as well. So that's all for us tonight, folks. Have a great one, and we will talk to you soon.
See you.